Hello, you're listening to Over the Oxer podcast with Tracy Cole for all things to do with the mind for equestrians.
So today, a very warm welcome if you're listening to the podcast, but also a very warm welcome if you're watching on YouTube. So if you want to see what I look like and what my little office looks like, then do have a little look on YouTube. And I'm talking today about something that affects every rider, regardless of your discipline, your experience, your ambition, your skill level. And it's something that we rarely stop and really think about and unpack properly. And it's the mind-body connection. Have you ever had, or do you have, a pain such as a neck ache or a shoulder ache or between the shoulder blades aching or backache in some way, and you're not really sure where it's come from, or you do know where it's come from because maybe you've overexerted yourself or maybe you've got an injury, but that pain is not going away. It's not going away in the normal timescale. It's been weeks now since it should have healed, it should be easing, and it's not. Do you ever have persistent pain? It may not be in the neck or the back or the shoulders, but it's there and there's no reason for it. I want to talk about if we're willing to tune in and listen to our bodies may be telling us truths that our minds have been conditioned to ignore and not to acknowledge. So in my work with riders, one of the things that we explore is how emotions and unresolved emotions, particularly stress and anxiety, but others as well, it may be trauma, for example, how they manifest physically. So if you've ever had a stiff neck that came out of nowhere, or a persistent ache in your shoulders, or a back pain that seems disconnected from anything that you've done physically, it might not be the body that started this pain. It may not be the root cause of the problem. It might literally all be in your head because it might be in your mind. And by that, I don't mean it's not real. It's very real, but it's your mind that has caused it. So in Master NLP Coach, Master Timeline Therapy, we often talk about emotional pain and tension, especially the kind that as riders, because we're such stoic people, we tend to ignore. And this pain is often located in certain areas of the body, those that I've mentioned, the neck, the back, the shoulders, between the shoulder blades. And that's often where that emotional load becomes a physical tension or even an ache or even a pain. But it's not come out of physicality, it's come because of an emotion. So the emotion, stress, unhappiness, sadness, anger, could be fear, anxiety, hurt. Any of those negative emotions may have caused this pain in our body. And we can naturally start to loop round into a cycle of managing the symptoms. So you might reach for some, I don't know, arnica or some other kind of liniment or some deep heat, or you may go for a massage, you may go to a physio, you may go to an osteo. So, we all go through these things and they help. They do help. They help you to feel better. And that may last for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. But if it's an emotional pain and the emotions haven't been dealt with, then that pain will come back. So sometimes our bodies are expressing things that our minds are choosing to ignore a little bit. So your conscious mind, so your unconscious, where the emotion has come from, is kind of trying to tap you on the shoulder and say, hello, I've got this bunch of anxiety here. I'd like to get rid of it. Perhaps, you could do something with it. The conscious mind says, talk to the hand because I'm not listening, and just pushes it away. So it's this tap, tap, tap. So the unconscious mind gets a little bit fractious and says, well, if you're not going to do something about it, I'm going to make you do something about it. I'm going to make it feel not just emotionally bad, but physically bad. And that's when we start to notice it. So once we have the ache or the pain, if we're not then willing to sit and do something about the emotions, investigate what they're really about, and release them, it's unlikely that rounds of physio, osteo, painkillers, massage, you name it, it's unlikely that they will give us the lasting change that we really want. They will alleviate the symptoms, and that in that way they can be very useful, but you'll find that the backache, the neck ache, and so on comes back. So in my work with the nervous system, we're not necessarily talking about avoiding these negative emotions like stress, like anxiety, but we're talking about having them at the appropriate time. So having the appropriate response is absolutely fine. Sometimes there are things that we should be anxious about in life. If you're walking along a cliff, it's good to have anxiety so that you start to walk inland a little bit more. These emotions are messages from our mind that something's not quite right here. So I'm not talking about down-regulating everything, because sometimes we need to feel these things. But it means that we have the appropriate emotion, and then we then get rid of the emotion, the overblown, the inappropriate, the unwarranted levels of emotion. And that's how we stop this emotion lodging itself in our physical bodies. So, for instance, if we were riding a really unpredictable hot horse and we wanted to think about what state is best to be in, it's probably best, as we all know, to be very grounded but alert. We don't want to shut our emotions down as such. We don't want to be so relaxed that it's like sitting on the sofa. We don't want that, do we? We want the appropriate emotion. But it also means that we have the appropriate emotion. And if that's a negative emotion, it's entirely appropriate, but then it dissipates when the event has passed. So sometimes our bodies are very much the truth tellers, if you like. And it tends to be that the mind, the unconscious mind, has an emotion to get rid of. And in so doing, the conscious mind is blocking it and saying, no, I'm not dealing with that. Don't want to face that. Don't want to think about that. And so the unconscious mind, because it has control over the body, is able to maybe make micro contractions, little tensions in our muscles, especially maybe around a nerve, and just grip onto a nerve. So that's when we start to feel the pain. And it's the unconscious mind starting to say, please listen to me. Please deal with this emotion. If we deal with the emotion, you'll feel physically better because I'll release the muscles, but also I, as the unconscious mind, will feel a lot better. So let's think about how that happens. So the best thing to do is to release the emotion, but obviously easier said than done. How on earth do we do that? Well, for some people, if the emotion is something that you've been pushing to one side because you haven't got time, you're far too busy, but you know it's there, and you know it needs to be dealt with, sometimes that acknowledgement is enough. So you sit quietly with yourself and you say, okay, I acknowledge I've got this anxiety about X, Y, and Z. Or I know I've been very angry of late, and I'm going to just think a little bit about that anger. And you sit with yourself, and if you like to journal, you could journal, but really it's the acknowledgement of the emotion that's key. So you're really acknowledging, accepting what's done is done, accepting the emotion, and just monitor where that pain level is as you accept and acknowledge the emotion. For those of you where the pain is just not going away, and even if you sit with it and you think about the emotion, it goes a little but not a lot, I would really recommend contacting a master of timeline therapy, because they have a nifty little technique that will help you and will help to release that pain, and also then to take you so that you can release the emotion correctly. So the key takeaway is not to necessarily start imagining that everything in our body is an emotion, because it's not. It has to be persistent. It has to be something for which there's no known cause, or a clinician has told you that this should have healed within 6 weeks and it's now 12 weeks and it's still not healed. It's something like that. Very persistent. It's there most of the time. It comes back even when you tried some kind of alleviation of the symptoms. And then start to listen to your body. Start to notice that tension. And if you are noticing a little bit of tension and you're not sure why it's there, I mean, I work at a desk all day, so of course I'm going to have neck and back tension anyway. But if I have tension somewhere else, acknowledge it. So at the moment, actually, just thinking about it, I've got a little bit of a kind of sciatica, kind of not bad, but a little bit of tension. So I'm just going to place my awareness on that area of my body, and I'm just going to ask my unconscious mind, what is that feeling? What is that emotion? I'm just going to sit with myself when I finish this podcast and just do that. And you might be asking yourself, where am I out of alignment? Not just physically, but in my writing, in my life. What am I avoiding? What am I not allowing myself to be aware of? And there might be something deeper, as I said. And if there's something deeper that you can't acknowledge because you really don't know what it is, do contact Timeline Therapy Master Practitioner. I hope this resonated and was interesting today. Take a moment to check in with your body and have a little think about what it's trying to tell you. Thanks ever so much for watching or listening. Take care, and I will see you again really soon.